So I've uploaded a video that breaks down all of the safety car incidents since 2018 where lapped cars were in situ. But that video is an hour and 9 minutes long, and I'm aware that there are a lot of people that won't sit through that. So I'm going to quickly just speed through that now. If you want to see the longer version, there'll be a link to that long version at the end where you'll go into full detail about it. But here's a quick version. So, safety car data since 2018, where Michael Massey was the assistant race director in that 2018 season. What we need to consider is that the data is taken from the start of 2018 because that is when Michael Massey became involved with the FIA, and the races are contested under the same regulations that the circuits used in modern day era of Formula One, adhering to modern day health and safety protocols and procedures. Between the start of 2018 and Abu Dhabi 2021, there were 80 events, of which 79 were Grand Prix. This is not including Abu Dhabi because we're not including the Belgian parade within this. Okay, the safety car was deployed 66 times in those 80 events. 18 of those deployments, which was 27% of the deployments, there were lapped cars. So this is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for the safety car to be deployed and lapped cars are in situ. So here is that list of 18 events. Australia 2018. The safety car was deployed because a car broke down on the edge of the track. Okay, we'll come to the data. Second time, Chinese Grand Prix 2018. Safety car deployed because the two Red Bull Team B team drivers came together. They both carried on, so they didn't need to be removed from track. It was just the debris that was on the track that needed removing. The third one, Azerbaijan 2018. This one's an anomaly. It will be left out of the data. Ultimately, what happened was, firstly, the two Red Bull cars came together. That caused a safety car, but during that safety car period, Roman Grosjean crashed whilst weaving to warm his tyres up. That prolonged the safety car period. Again, further details to come, but that is why this is an anomaly. The fourth time, British Grand Prix, what caused the safety car was Marcus Ericsson went into the barriers well off the tracks. Okay, there was no debris on track that needed marshals on there to actually sweep it away. Okay, so again, a different operation to deal with this situation. Fifth time was the 2018 German Grand Prix. This time Vettel had slid off track in the damp conditions, gone into the gravel and kissed the tyres there. It wasn't a hard impact at all, just got beached. Again, not similar to Abu Dhabi 2020-21. The Spanish Grand Prix of 2019. This was one of the Grand Prix. So the 2019 season was where Massey became the race director because Charlie Whiting had passed away. Massey keeps the safety car on track beyond the lap that safety car has to do as a mandatory lap. So he kept that safety car lapping for 2 laps after the lap on which that they were released on, the lapped cars were released on. What had taken place at Spain 2019 was Norris and Stroll had come together. Norris was stuck into the gravel on the left-hand side of the screen. Norris had come back onto track, dragging all that gravel with him, and he'd come to a standstill on the right-hand side of the track, on the right-hand side of the screen. So both cars needed moving out of the way, but this gravel needed sweeping off the track. German Grand Prix 2019. Leclerc had slid off this time into the barriers, slow speed, but had become beached on the gravel, just needed removing. So again, we don't need marshals on track here to remove anything that's on the track. Singapore 2019, this was more similar to Abu Dhabi. This was a car that had crashed and there's part of its front wing that needed recovering off track by the marshals. This car hadn't set itself alight and didn't need a fire extinguishing though. 2019 Russian Grand Prix, all the data's here for these. This was a very short clear up. There'd just been a virtual safety car. Just as the virtual safety car had ended, George Russell crashes. And so this time they immediately hit it with the safety car. Not much damage to the barrier, and the recovery vehicles are on hand to recover that car. The car is off the track, there's no debris on the track. Brazil 2019. Simple incident. Bottas's engine failed. He pulled off at turn 14, well off the racetrack. On the inside, you'd think if you're going to go off at turn 4, then you come off this side of the track, you know, where Verstappen runs his fellow competitor off the track, this side of the track, not on the inside of the track there. But that still took 6.9 laps to resolve itself, because this was yet another Grand Prix where Massey kept that safety car on track, lapping for 2 laps beyond the lap that those lapped cars were released upon. Austrian Grand Prix 2020, a quick clear up because this car just span on this little blue apron here, ended up there, couldn't get going again, and you can see where the location of the recovery vehicles is. The car's not on track, there's no debris on track. Very quick operation. The Tuscan Grand Prix, initially the safety car was deployed, but then due to barrier damage, they red flagged the event. So this will be discarded from the data ultimately. I'm just demonstrating that this is a situation where the safety car was initially deployed and there were lapped cars in situ. This is the data that accompanies that. That's what happened. That barrier needed repairing properly before they went racing, hence the red flag. The Eiffel Grand Prix of 2020, what happened was Lando Norris pulled off track, well off track, right close to where the recovery vehicle was. Still took a lot of time to resolve this. Massey kept the safety car on track for 2 laps beyond the lap which all of those lapped cars were released upon. This is the data for how long that took in terms of laps, time and distance. 2020 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Slight anomaly on this one. Initially, the safety car was deployed due to Max Verstappen suffering a puncture, which sent him into a spin into the gravel. Tyre was shredded, underside of his car was badly damaged. But during that safety car period, George Russell crashes whilst trying to warm up his tyre, causing the debris to be strewn onto the track. Again, this is an anomaly. The data is listed there as to what it actually took, but I will modify that data for when we process the average. 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix. Short track at Sakhir. Okay, it's a modified Bahrain track. Short lap times, hence more of those laps. Okay, but look at the amount of kilometres taken. That's about standard. Look at the time taken. Actually quite short because it's a short lap. But what caused it, all that was there causing that incident was this Williams car of Aitken. It span just as it came round the corner, clipped its nose against this orange barrier, and it ripped the front wing off, leaving it on track. So it's a very quick clear up operation. Okay. And just to give you an example here, this was Lance Stroll. This was as the safety car was ending. This was another one of these situations where a car almost drops it during a safety car period. So we've had Grosjean at Azerbaijan 2018. We've had George Russell at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at 2020. This is Lance Stroll almost crashing into the back of the Renault during this safety car period. And there's more. Emilia-Romagna 2021. This was the race that also got red flagged. This was due to George Russell and Valtteri Bottas coming together, both cars being totaled, barrier damage and all this debris strewn over the track, so they red flagged it in order to deal with this incident. The data is here, it's red flagged, doesn't really count in the final analysis, but it's there for you to have a look at. It's all explained in the longer version. Prior to resumption, this is a rolling start, but there was the formation lap, effectively the precursory lap after they'd released the lapped cars, and then all the cars go around together. This is Kimi spinning off track during that lap. This is Max spinning off track whilst leading that before that race resumed. So like I say, it's not uncommon that during these safety car periods that these sorts of incidents occur. 2021 Azerbaijan, Lance Stroll. The tyre blowout, which causes this. Similar to Abu Dhabi, there's a crashed car, there's debris on the track. The data is there, the time taken, the distance taken, the laps lost. And then the final one, the 18th time during Michael Massey's tenure as race director or trainee race director for the FIA, the 18th time where there is an incident where the safety car is deployed and there are lapped cars in situ was at Azerbaijan when Max Verstappen's tyre blew out and it caused him to spin and the debris came off his car. So because again this is red flagged, we don't include this, but this is the data relating to that, all explained in the longer version. So what does this result in? This is the list of those 18 deployments. We've got the column demonstrating the number of laps lost, the time taken, and the distance lost out of the race. Average number of laps lost if you include all of them deployments, and you also include them red flag events where the number of laps lost, the time taken, and the distance is all significantly shorter, because rather than lose a few laps, they stop it. Okay, so this is artificially low. 5.21 laps lost, 12 minutes 22 seconds out of the race, 26.184 kilometers out of the race, due to dealing with a safety incident. Artificially low. So what we need to do is remove the red flag incidents of Tuscan 2020, Emilia Romagna 2021, Azerbaijan 2021. That takes the average number of laps to 5.65 laps lost out of a Grand Prix before you can resume racing again from the point in time an incident occurs. 12 minutes 49 seconds, 28.185 kilometers. Azerbaijan 2018 was an anomaly because of Grosjean dropping it during the safety car period. That took 45 kilometers out of that race, 7.5 laps. I'm going to eliminate that one. So we then look at the 14 events. If we just use the 14 events, when we've taken away the 3 red flag incidents and the anomaly of Azerbaijan 2018, 5.5 laps, 5.51 laps are lost. 12 minutes 13 seconds, 26.98 kilometers. So nearly 27 kilometers of racing is lost due to having to deploy the safety car to deal with an incident when there are lapped cars in the race. They are reflective figures of what it is we're dealing with. We can take it one step further than this, and that is, we know Spain 2019, Brazil 2019, Eiffel 2020, Sakir 2020, them events highlighted in green. Each of those events, Michael Massey, the race director, he kept that safety car on track for an additional lap beyond the release of those lapped cars. So not only did he perform that mandatory safety car lap, he kept that safety car on track for an additional lap to ensure that those released cars caught the back of the pack. Because that is not necessarily stated in the regulations are that the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap. If you follow that just to the letter and don't consider the sporting implications, which you need to because that's part of the FIA International Sporting Code, which dictates sporting fairness to all competitors. But if you just go to the letter of the regulations saying that the safety car will return to the pits at the end of the following lap, regardless of where those released cars are, we'll knock a lap off each of those 4 periods. So in Spain, rather than it taking 6.6 laps, we'll drop that down to 5.6. Brazil down to 5.9, Eiffel down to 4.4, and Sakir down to 6.3. And we've knocked the time durations down because I've knocked the lap time down off that, and the distance down as well. The other thing I've done is the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix of 2020, the one where initially it was Max Verstappen's crash that caused the safety car, but then George Russell dropped it, okay, causing the debris on track. I will knock that incident back by a lap. Whilst I say it's not uncommon for other cars to drop it during a safety car period, I think it's only fair that we drop that back to, because it actually, had it have just been George Russell's incident that would have caused that safety situation. By the time they'd deployed the safety car, got things under control, and then cleared it up, it's likely that the figure 5.5 laps, 11 minutes 56 seconds and 27 kilometers would have been a valid figure anyway. So that's the figure that I'm going to use to create the average, which is a sort of average teams would then calculate and base their strategy calls on. What you need to bear in mind is we are told, as fans of the sport of Formula One, we are told that often teams will even underfuel their cars because they will predict that it might be impacted by a safety car situation, which means these cars won't be travelling flat out for a period of time, and therefore they won't be using so much fuel, so they'll cut it that fine that they'll underfuel the car. Now, we don't know for sure. This is the information that we are fed. So assuming that that is true, then how many laps do they underfuel by? What do they calculate? How many laps do they calculate will be spent behind a safety car? The teams do this. The teams work on organising this data and actually drilling down to what this data actually is, these averages. So this is what I'm trying to do and demonstrate this to you. So when we do all this, we eliminate the 3 red flags, we eliminate Azerbaijan, we take a lap off each of the 4 events that Massey kept that safety car on track for an additional lap over and above the mandatory lap. We knock back the safety car period of Emilia-Romagna 2020 by a lap. It brings the average to 5.16. This isn't what actually happened. This is like cutting it short. What actually happened is different, but this is cutting it right to the bone. 11 minutes 28 seconds, 25.37 kilometers of racing lost. So in Abu Dhabi, they were the figures due to that incident, which also the car set on fire and an extinguisher was needed to put the fire out, and there was also powder then put onto the track which needed sweeping away, as well as all that debris that's strewn all over the track. How do we know how many laps were left? Well, this is the point in time where Latifi's blue dot became stationary. Look where Hamilton, the leader, is. If you look at data view, again, this is the point in time on this bottom bar where the blue dot of Latifi becomes stationary. This is where Hamilton's dot is. If you look along the length of that line, Hamilton is 0.6 of the way along that line. Therefore, he has completed 0.6 of lap 53, meaning there are 5.4 laps of that race remaining. If we know it takes 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 laps as an average before racing can resume, and there's only 5.4 left, that race does not resume. You don't go racing until you cross the start-finish line at the end of lap 58. That means it's a safety car finish. Using those 4 sets of data that I've just given you and the averages generated, the fairest average is the one that I've highlighted in green. 5.5 laps on average are taken. There were only 5.4 laps left in Abu Dhabi. They went racing after 4.4. The time taken on average is 12 minutes 13 seconds, a distance of almost 27 kilometers. They went racing after just 23 kilometers. Now, similar incidents: Spain 2019, Singapore 2019, Emilia-Romagna 2020, Azerbaijan 2021. These are incidents where the cars crashed and the car needs removing from the track or from the side of the track, and debris needs sweeping from the track. Okay, they are similar incidents to Abu Dhabi 2021. But Abu Dhabi 2021, there was also a fire, and they needed to extinguish the fire and then sweep away the powder from the extinguisher. So Abu Dhabi 2021 was even longer in theory than those 4 pictured there. If we look at the details of those 4 events to compare with Abu Dhabi 2021, we can take the overall average being 5.725 laps. But if we knock back a lap from Spain due to the additional lap that Massey kept that safety car on track for, knock back a lap from Emilia-Romagna 2020 due to both Verstappen crashing and then Russell crashing, knock that back to 5.5 laps. What that gives us is 5.225 laps lost on average in each of those 4 similar incidents to Abu Dhabi. A time, and again, the actual time was 14.02 on average. If we knock back a lap from Spain 2019 and Emilia-Romagna, it brings the average down to 12 minutes 56 seconds. The distance, again, the actual distance as an average was 29 kilometres. We knock back a lap, it's almost 27 kilometres. Abu Dhabi 2021, they went racing after 4.4 laps, 10 minutes 39 seconds, 23.236 kilometres. If 5.4 laps, which is around about this 5.25 average, 13 minutes would have elapsed in time, and that's pretty close to the 12 minutes 56 seconds. 28.5 kilometres, well, that's somewhere between the 27 here and the 29 here. So that's the data. You can see a greater explanation in greater detail at the longer version of this. The data's not lying. The data is not lying. You can see how I've taken the data. You can verify that data yourself by looking on F1 TV, looking at all the timings that I've given, and you can cross-reference it. The data is not lying. Those that are lying are F1 TV that fed you a narrative in real time when broadcasting to you that event. They didn't show you what was really going on. They created a narrative by interjecting with messages from teams to drivers that were not in accordance with the rules of the sport. The broadcaster, Sky Sports F1, lied to you. Each and every one of these people that are in front of you now lied to you about the sport. They lied to you. They lie to your children about a sport. That is how filthy they are. The FIA, the governing body, the global governing body of a sport, lies to the global population about a sport. This is how corrupt this sport is. Liberty Media, the people that own the broadcasting rights, the commercial rights to the sport, lie to the world about the sport. Every single team that was involved lied to the world. They were all complicit. They all went along with the rule breaks. None of them called it out, and they just took the money. They took the money. They're all complicit. And these are the people that are presented being in high power positions, present themselves with integrity, with authenticity, and they are just corrupt criminals. Click the link for the longer version if you want to see this in more detail. But you've got to understand, it takes about 5.5 laps of racing on average to deal with a safety car incident. There were 5.4 laps left in Abu Dhabi when Nicholas Latifi crashed. That race should have been a safety car finish. It is as simple as that. The data doesn't lie. Thanks for your time.